What's up, guys and girls? It's Michael Wine here, and I am your host. I am Gundamonium Works, and we are live for part one of the Bandai FF-X7 Core Fighter build. The Metal Gear Rex is in paint, and so you can see all the skewers behind me in the paint booth there. There's about 1 million parts on skewers, and getting primer right as we speak. And so decided to start a new project. So we're going to be doing the Core Fighter, and this is a relatively new kit for me, and it's got some pretty cool stuff in it, and I'll go over that when we get started here. So let's switch over. Actually, let's just start the opening. We'll get this ball rolling. All right. Happy hump day, everybody. How's it going? We are live. And like I said, we're going to be doing starting the Core Fighter. This is a 1/35th scale from the Gundam universe, UC hard graph. And it's a pretty cool kit. I mean, I really like the hard graph kits for some reason. I think just if anything in this scale seems to be really nice. And for the most part, I think all of them, if not most of them, contain a really nice set of water slides. And so I'm going to switch down to, as soon as I find my cursor here, we'll go down, look, and we'll look at this is the first runner we're going to be starting with, and this is all the figures that come with it, which is kind of cool. We got the Amuro Ray figure. We got the, oh gosh, I forgot her name. I want to say Sarah, but it's Sayla. I think it's Sayla. Yeah, we got her as well, and then there's a crew figure as well. So there's some pretty cool stuff we can do with this. What's up, Julius? How you doing? Wish you would reprint them. Yeah, I was just talking to Ryan Bartoletti over in. He was just telling me how hard they are to find right now, and I'm so glad I got my hands on one because I didn't realize that at the time. And I guess he's got a special edition that has like even better decals than what comes with this. So I want to see those decals. But the plan is here to go with I think I'm going to do the low vis color scheme versus the traditional red, white, and blue. But like I said, one of the cool parts about this is the decal sheet. I mean, these hard graph kits always seem to have a really, really nice decal sheet. And this one is not, or will not disappoint as far as that is concerned. So some really nice heads. Even got some decals for the console. There's also a few other cool little things. I'm going to set these aside with this kit. The figures, the helmets that come with them. There's even some tinted visors that you can install. So what I'll do, let me go down. I might as well go down and close up here and we can see this stuff. So this is the canopy, of course, and then I'm kind of getting washed out here with this. So let's move this aside. So right over here are the two little canopies. Or not canopies, the two little visors right there that you can put in their helmets. I've also got a clear piece for the console. So I think you can actually backlight this if you wanted to, which, gee, me and LEDs, why would I do that, right? What's up, Nick? Nick's in the house. How you doing, buddy? So we're just talking about the Core Fighter here. We're going to start doing this in the very first step. There's also some nice illustrations here on the first page of this. Of course, you'll need Google Translate if you want to read any of it, but it talks about, it's got the figures on here, the crew, some of the markings. You know, there's the decals for all these guys are all included on that decal sheet, including some of the nice little specs and details stuff. So it's kind of a cool cool first page of the instruction book. And then first step is right into the figures. So might as well start this. There's also, let's see, I think it doesn't show it, but I've got to find out. There's this runner has several. Computer, sorry, I'm going to read your comment here. Doing good. Computer took forever to boot up, but I made it. Well, that's cool. You're here. You didn't miss much. First thing I showed off was just basically the decal sheet. This is really nice. The hard graft kits always seem to have these really nice decal sheets, and I love the 1/35th scale stuff. I wish, considering it's a hard graft kit, you'd think, master grade kits would come with water slides. Unless you're buying P Bandai or a Verka, chances are you're not getting water slides with it. But for some reason, all these come with them, and they're great. So anyway, getting back to the figure runner here, there is what looks like 2 sets for Amuro. And if I'm looking at this correctly, one of them has him in a standing position here, and then there's another one. There's a torso where he's in the squatting position. I'm not sure why that is. I might be wrong. It might actually be a crew member, but I can only see one. There's basically one head piece for each character. So there's Amuro, there's the crew, and then Sayla. Yeah, that's her. That's her. There's no other. There's no other head. There's several different arms. So I guess I'm just going to have to go through this and look. There's. Oh, gotcha. Okay, so now I see that basically the seated figure, the one who's squatting, the ones with the legs bent will be for a seated figure in the cockpit, if you wanted to do that. So I think I'm going to not do that. I would probably rather have him standing outside the Core Fighter. Just makes more sense to me that rather than having a pilot inside. Plus, I think it would be a lot more visible details that we can see and enjoy in the cockpit without a pilot taking up a majority of that space in there. So, all right. So I guess what we'll do is we'll start cutting these figures out. I really like the fact that they came with those tinted visors that you could put in the helmets here, which is kind of cool. You can have them open, or of course I'm going to put the visors in. I mean, why wouldn't you? But there are several actual helmets available. You can have one that already has the visor in it, and then there's 2 helmets here that have, let me see if I can get those close up. So you basically have one helmet here that has the visor already in it, and then next to that you have 2 helmets that are all open and hollow inside. So you can install that visor or that tinted glass in that, really nice looking effect. So I think that's where I want to go. So with that, let's get started. I guess we'll start with Amuro. He's just standing there looking kind of manly. And these figures look really nice. I mean, the molds look really, really great. There's not a terrible amount of mold line there. There is a mold line, but they've almost strategically put it in a place that where it runs down the seam of the leg, so it's not that visible. You would have to do a little bit of cleanup on one side, but for the most part, it's actually a really nice looking figure for model kit. But I've always been impressed by the UC hard graft kits. They're always very, very detailed, and I have the hover tank as well, and I also have the main battle tank, and all of those are really just awesome looking. All right, so for him, we're going to be using the open-faced helmet. We'll be putting the visor in. Let's see, G7. I mean, they've got their pistols and their pistols in the holsters. They've got backpacks that you can put on them. So all this stuff will be nice to add to these figures as they're standing outside the Core Fighter. All right, so I need 12 first. I guess that's the straight arm. There is 12. There it is. I know George happened to do an Amuro model not too long ago, and came out really, really nice. In fact, I think he painted it to match the box art. Okay, so there's all the pieces for Amuro. So we're going to stop there, and then I'll just do all the cleanup on him first. Some small nubs. Definitely going to take some using the sponges for sanding because of the curved surfaces, and I don't want to take off any of these details. But because the Metal Gear Rex kit is in paint right now, in fact, everything's been primered. I went back over after I did my seam checks and seam fixes with gray primer. Now I'm going back over with a guy in Evo Black. So I'm using the black primer over the top of that for two purposes. One, to as a pre-shade, and of course just to do a final primer coat after doing all my seam fixes. So so most everything will be black before I start painting, and then I may even, because it's I might do a muddled surface paint as well, but we'll see. I think just pre-shading will be enough for that. This kit, however, because it's an aircraft kit, I am going to definitely be using a modeled type paint scheme to make it look like a weathered aircraft, something that would definitely be exposed to the elements. I think that will be a really nice effect. My buddy Dan Salas, he did a Core Fighter. I think if my memory serves me right, he actually won a GVWC regional with it in Los Angeles back before COVID, at Anime Expo, when Anime Expo was still hosting the World Cup qualifier. So yeah, that's pretty impressive. Unfortunately, it's not the kind of thing that Bandai. I mean, it's almost like he won. He knew that it was good enough to win the regional, but at the same time, knowing what Bandai wants to put over in Japan, it is almost inevitable that he wouldn't go to Japan with it, because that's not what it's going to look good on a magazine cover. I think GVWC is kind of turned into an art competition more than it is a model competition, but it's all about what looks better on a magazine cover, what's going to sell more models, right? That's their contest. I guess they can do whatever they want with it, but it just seems to be over the years what has kind of gone on there. So I'm just taking care of these mold lines along the legs and the torso of Amuro here. There's not too much, and like I said, they kind of hit it. If you look at you can see the raised detail on the side of the leg, the pant leg. That mold line kind of goes right down with that, so it's not really hard to clean up and disguise that. It's actually well placed. I'm definitely happy with that, and all I'm doing is just kind of softening up the edge of it because of where, where it is on that stripe. It's still kind of maybe a little bit of raised flash there. So just taking the edge off of that with the sponges is really all that's necessary. Just doing some light sanding here, just trying to get the nubs off. There's quite a few on this torso section here. I'm using the God Hand 400 grit. It's my go-to mostly. I do use the 240 quite often too because it's a little more aggressive. But for just doing light sanding and softening up, 400 works good. Let's see. Julius says, "Hey Nick, yeah, you just figured out he was here. I mean, he's been here for a good solid 5-10 minutes. That's all right. I'm just playing. I'm just messing. No worries, guys. All right. So how's everybody's hump day? Everybody have a good day today? Mine was relatively uneventful. And that was by design. I've been struggling with a few jobs at work, and I just needed a day to go through, needed a day to just chill and get stuff done, but not be overly stressed. So I'm breaking out the Flexifile here. This is really good for curved surfaces and tight areas like this. You can kind of squeeze this together and soften the strength of the strap. This is a sanding strap, and I don't remember what the gray one is. It feels like around a 400 grit. But by basically softening, squeezing it together a little bit, you can kind of press down and go around those curved surfaces a little easier. If you want it tighter, you just let off the pressure a little bit. And this way I can get that mold line to kind of soften up in between the legs here, where you can't get that sanding sponge. You just need a little bit of light. I've got another one here. I'm going to use it too. This one's got a little bit lighter grit on it, so I think I want to go with that instead. There we go. And it's pretty good mold though. It's not a too terribly noticeable mold line. It's there, but especially on the inside of the legs, it's not that bad. It doesn't take much to knock it down. I'm just using real light pressure so I don't lose any of those little fine details, because these uniforms have I guess a decent amount of detail on them, whether it be a pattern built into the suit or a wrinkle or something like that. They're nice. I don't want to just sand all those away, so I'm being real careful, just using light pressure. These Flexifiles they're kind of nice. I bought it as a set. They came with the frame and a bunch of different straps, but it also came with some regular sanding sticks. And these are let's see here. Oops, I almost lost my pencil. So yeah, you get these Flexifile sanding sticks a lot of times with it. Those are pretty good, but they do wear out. You can see that all the edges are all worn, all the sanding stuff's going away. It's just basically bonded onto like a foam board, but it's also like a plastic paper. And if you use the crap out of them like I did, they do tend to wear out, so you got to replace them. But this is really the bread and butter of the whole system. Is this thing. I mean, I don't use it all the time, but it's one of those things. Like with this application, it's awesome for doing this kind of work in between and around small like curved surfaces. Where you don't want to use a flat hardboard stick, where you, especially like a round tube or something, where you can accidentally, or anything round for that matter, whether it be a disc, a radar disc or something, you can inadvertently put a flat spot in it, and then you got to try to smooth that out so it doesn't look obvious. Whereas the Flexifile, you can go pretty gentle around those curved surfaces and not lose any of that detail. Still got a little bit of flash up here between. And what I'm doing is I'm just basically turning this piece to go around that curved. And then I'm also squeezing the frame a little bit to soften that up, so it kind of bends around those edges a little bit, those surfaces a little bit better. So it sands on a curve and not flat. That's better. That looks good. One more pass and we should be good to go. Do you think you could use other 1/31st scale heads from military kits to change? Let's see. Let's put that on screen, Julius. Good question. Oh, why did it do that? I just went to click on that and it jumps. Okay, the question is, do you think you could use other 1/35th scale heads like from military kits to change the look of those figures? I suppose. They seem to be pretty good in scale as far as like the figures that came with the Abrams tank when I did that build. I mean, these are specifically molded to look like Amuro and Sayla, right? I always forget her name. So I don't, unless you really wanted to change them up. Yeah, I'm sure you could do something like that, but I don't particularly have a need to change that. I think having both of them, I don't know, maybe I need to watch a couple episodes or something and see if both these characters would actually be in the room at the same time, basically on the ground next to a core fighter. Now, I won't be putting in the glass lens, obviously, until the end. That wouldn't make sense at all. Let's take that off. But because I want that to be, I don't want to have to mask that off, and it basically just fits. I mean, the helmets are pretty small, but they're really detailed. And they're all painted up and they look nice. And then you pop in that nice tinted, like amber almost, or it's almost a smoke tint. Put that nice tinted lens in there, and that's going to look really nice. Oops. like to see what like to see some other builds of this, people that have done this kit, because as rare as it is, as hard it is to find, it doesn't seem like too many people build it. Maybe just people own them and have them in their backlogs or something, but don't see a ton of 135th scale core fighters out there. All right, the helmet looks nice. We'll set that aside. I think the torso and the legs. Give it one last look here, because it was a little bit harder to see on the inside of the foot. But I think I've got that nice and smoothed out, so we shouldn't need to. All right. See what that looks like after primer. Now this hand is actually holding the helmet, so it's got to kind of wrap around the bottom or around the side. That's going to be probably the trickiest part about this, is gluing all these pieces together and getting them. Hey Jason, how's it going? I have almost all the UC hard grav kits except the tank. Oh, the hover tank or the main battle tank? Which one are you talking about, Julius? So Jason, how did your build meet go the other day or last week? I know you were headed during the episode last week. You were on the road. Just curious as to how that went. I miss build gatherings. I used to do them all the time in California when I belonged to those Gundam guys. We used to do them at least once a month or once every other month or something like that. Yeah, we need to. We used to do them up here too, but COVID hit, and then some of the members moved further away, like really far away, 4 hours away, and it kind of just fizzled out as far as, especially after COVID, as far as getting venues and also getting, stores to participate. Battle tank. Yeah, I got one of those. I got lucky. Buddy of mine in California, when I lived down there, actually I was up here, I think. I just moved up here. And he happened to go to a model swap meet. It was one of these, anybody could show up, and if you wanted a table, you rent your space, you get a little table, and then sell whatever you want to. It's basically like a swap meet. And he came across this tank, and he says, "Hey, do you want this? It's $20." I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, I want that. So he ended up snatching that up for me. He already had one himself, otherwise he would have bought it, I'm sure, but Jason says, went good. Worked on a bear guy and a Haro while still watching your stream, and had it in my ear. Then was shooting the breeze with all the people. Nice. Full ADHD mode. That's cool, man. I appreciate you taking me along on your trip there to your build gathering. Sure, one of these days, hopefully, I'll be able to go down to Oregon during one of those. $20 they sell for $200 now? Damn. Well, I'm glad I got mine. I should pull it out. I'm pretty sure the price tag is still on it. I want to say it was $20, but I really hope I didn't misquote it there. Let me double check that here in a second. I'm pretty sure the box still had a price tag on it. Let me grab that real quick. I'm going to see if that's got it. Just to see. This one down. So 720. Yeah, I guess it was. Well, maybe the guy made a mistake, but there's the price tag, and he only charged $20. It said 720, but I don't think they were going to try to get 720 for it. So yeah, nobody in their right mind would pass up that deal. But I still think, yeah, that price tag's got to be wrong. 720 is ridiculous. All right, so I'm pretty much done with that arm. I got all the mold lines out. There's really not a whole lot of mold lines, but there is a few there. So they're not real drastic. I mean, they're there, but they're not. It's not hard to get rid of them all. All right. I got the other side here, the other arm. This is his right arm. Some of those nubs are a little bit. Probably would have been easier to put them on like the top of the shoulder rather than right in the crook of the arm, because it's a little bit harder to get to. Yeah, that looks good. Just a little bit right there, right next to his wrist. And a little more on the inside. All right, and last but not least, his head here. So there's quite a bit of you can see the mold line going around his head on this. So that's going to take a little bit more. I guess not too terribly bad, but at least he only put one attachment on the top of his head where the runner was, so it's not hard to get rid of the nub. All right, now let's start gluing this guy together. I think I'm not going to glue the helmet in. I think what I want to try to do is, well, maybe not. I don't know. I'll probably try to paint that separately. I'm going to glue the arm in place and try to get that in the right spot to hold the helmet, but then leave the helmet off, and I can paint the whole thing and put it in here. Do you all know that Goodwill has an auction site? And they list new, used, vintage, and built models. The prices are reasonable. However, sometimes shipping will be over $15. Really? Well, that's no. No, I did not know that. I want to put that one on screen. Goodwill has an auction site. Do you happen to know the auction site? Is there a specific email address for that? Make sure I got the right arms here. Yeah, I think I did. It's funny, I was looking at one of the arms for Selah, and the hands all kind of like cut off and deformed, and I couldn't figure out why until I saw what the pose they have her doing. Basically, she's putting her hand in under her hairline, so the arm is made in such a way that the hand is kind of disappearing into her hairline. It's kind of cool. So yeah, that was G12. And yeah, that's what I got. And 7. And then 8, yeah. Oh, and then the holster. That's 29. Okay, so there's one of those as well. I missed that first time. It's in the picture, but it's kind of tucked away. Shop Goodwill. Okay, nice. News to me. Would have never thought to check. Yeah, that's definitely news to me too, man. Sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know. In this case, we know Julius. ShopGoodwill.com. Okay. Great. I'm going to have to open my wallet again. Lovely. So I'm just kind of sanding off the nub on this holster here. One last thing. All right. Now we can start gluing together. So I guess the easiest thing to start with would be the head. It's like, do I turn his head? Do I leave it straight? Goodwill auctions, and if you want to bid, you have to set up an account. Okay, that's easy enough. There's no auction sniper that I'm aware of. You mean you can't pull like they used to do, like eBay, where eBay fixed that problem though. Like people could come in like 10 seconds in and make a bid, and it would refresh, and you'd lose the auction right after that. Now, I guess if you make a bid, it automatically adds 2 minutes to the auction, or a minute or something like that. So it allows people to get in and try to bid if they want to bid. But auction sniper, yeah, if there is no auction sniper, are you saying that makes it easier to win an auction? If you get in there and blast it right at the last minute. Yeah, I think I might try to turn his head slightly, just to give it some difference there. So we'll take a dot of thin cement. Let's see what the box is. The box art, yeah, it kind of has him. He's turning his head slightly to the right. Kind of place it centered in the collar here. So there we go. Looks good. Let that sit for a minute. Give it just another touch around the edge. All right. let that sit for 1 second. Actually, I can do the straight arm. That's the easy one. The hardest arm is going to be that one holding the helmet. Straight one down by his side, that was pretty easy. So let's just grab another little dot of cement here. Get it in the right position. I had it and then I bumped it. I think that needs to roll back slightly, just a little bit. There we go. That looks more natural. Trying to get his arm down by his side, but also get the right angle. Okay, so here's where we're at so far. Dirt Diggler, what's up? How's it going? Welcome in. So now I just got to get that bent arm in place. We'll let this sit for a second so that will go on without me bumping it off. I've also got to glue on the holster, which I probably should have put on first on that side of his belt, but that I can do later. So this goes on, yeah, this way. I'll have to do that later. What is going on, Mr. Diggler? Cheers, everybody. Tonight we've got a 2021 Syrah from Ambassador. It's always Ambassador. Well, for the most part it is. All right. So I'm relying on the thin cement being somewhat pliable at first. Because I'm going to put this arm on and then I've got to kind of just plop that helmet in there in place just to kind of get the right position of the arm, and then I can pull the helmet off and let it dry in place. So let's just first, if I can do this, stick this on here just temporarily, kind of get it close, okay, and then it looks like his, whoops, I'm going to need tweezers for this. So I'm going to have to move the arm, but I think I'm pretty close. This helmet is just big enough to where I tried to let go of it with my tweezers and it wouldn't let me let go. Come on, for fuck's sake. All right, we're doing it by hand. Hanging in there, building this god Phoenix while watching your work. Nice. Well, that almost worked, but it kind of went over his hand, which is not what I wanted. I want to get it in. I had it. Okay, so it's going to sit like that, and that's perfect. Okay, if I can get this, or you can see it on camera here. Give me 1 second. All right, hopefully this doesn't fall. So there's the position. So, and I actually nailed it the first try. I didn't even have to move it. So what I'm going to do is just let that fall out. So I can kind of give this one more little press on there. And then we'll make sure it's got one last good little shot of glue just to make sure. Okay, now we're going to let him sit. All right, I got to go back up and take that one off. And good to hear, man. God Phoenix, huh? Is that a master grade kit, if I'm not mistaken? All right, now let's work on Sailor. Oops, I got one other thing. I got that holster, but I will do that after I let these sit here and dry for a minute. And we'll put that holster on. So I'm going to cut out Sailor here. All right. Oh, I also got the backpack too. I guess I could. It doesn't show one on Amuro though, but if he's standing outside of the cockpit, he might have one. I would think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Would he have one of those? It almost looks like a little jetpack kind of thing, like this right here. Sailor's wearing it here on her back. Would Amuro have the same thing? Let me know in the comments, and then we'll I'll put that on his back too. If not, there's two of them on the runner here, so it leads me to believe that you have that option. Because I know that if you're going to put the pilot in the seat, he doesn't have it because he's got his fit in the seat, so they don't usually have you install that. I think I read that when I was doing the translation. It's a jet. Gotcha, man. Yeah, that's what you're telling me. Oh, really? Interesting. So I need 23 and 27. I got 23 out. I don't know if you can hear that kid losing his mind outside. I have a high school close by too, and a lot of times you hear the sports events going on, football games or whatever. You can hear them from my window, but now it just sounds like some kid absolutely losing his mind right now. 225. Do the same process with these two. And 24. I got to remove all the nubs and yep, there's 16 and mold lines. So that's what we'll do after I get all the pieces cut out here. It doesn't appear to have a holster on her person. There is one though. If I needed to put it on him. Oh, interesting. Okay. I was just looking at the crew member when you got to build him. There's several options to what he's wearing and stuff like that. All right, so let's work on Sailor's head here. If any of you are familiar, well, Jason will be because, well, he's in Oregon, so he's a little bit further south than me, but in the Pacific Northwest here, we're so high up on the map that the sun doesn't go down, especially in the summertime. Longest days of the year. The sun doesn't go down till almost 10 o'clock. It's crazy to get used to. If you're not used to that, if you're used to living further south weather, that kind of thing, when it's daylight savings, you get maybe 8:30, 9 o'clock, maybe. But up here, it's crazy. It stays daylight for a long time. It's crazy when you're trying to go to sleep at night and you can still see, you walk around in your bedroom and it's not even dark. Can be a little annoying, maybe, but I like it. I really like the long days, but It is a bit shocking if you've not experienced that, and then you come up here and you're like, good God, it's still bright outside. I remember once I sent a picture to a friend of mine in California because he didn't believe me. He was like, it's 9:30. He's like, no way. And I'm like, dude, take a look. And I showed him a picture out my window, and he's like, good God, man. So I'm using the flex file again. I'm just getting under her hairline here where some of that mold line goes under. Actually, where her hand is going to be placed as well. So it's not too overly critical, but I want to get rid of that mold line just in case you can see it. Looks like I may have to just go in and scrape it out because it's just in the crick there. It's just in a spot that I can't quite get to. Got one of those flash blades, but I don't think I need it. So right now I'm working on Sailor's head, if anybody just tuned in. Taking all the mold lines out of around the top of her head, her hairline. Just kind of softening those up. All right, let's work on the helmet. These helmets are cool. I mean, for the scale, that's just awesome. They're really well made. A lot of detail. It's going to look great with them all painted up. All right. So there is a one right down the center. Okay. I don't know, with all that hair, Sailor, I don't think your helmet's going to fit. Just saying. Looks like it's a little bit big for all that hair, or a little bit small for all that hair. I mean, so it looks like actually I need a skinny file for this. Let's see. Where are my really thin? Oh, there we go. Okay. So I've got, there's just her waistline. It's too small here, so I'm using a really thin file to get in there and get this nub out. So did anybody answer me when I asked about the backpack on their flight suits here? Would Amuro have one? Doesn't show it in the instructions. However, there are two of them on the runner, so I'm assuming one is for Sailor, one's for Amuro. But I'm just saying, before I glue it on, it'd be nice to know if somebody has a little insight on that. I don't know myself, so I'm putting it out to the room. Actually, this one will work. All right. All right. Now, since her leg is not attached, that's going to make it easier to get in here and do this with the flex file. Okay. I might need to hit these with some primer first just to, double check everything, but I might need some fixing when I'm done. But as far as I can see, as far as my eyes are good, that I've got rid of most of the, if not all of those mold lines. I love the long days here. I always go to bed late. Yeah, right. I know. There's often times when I need to go to bed and I think it's early because the sun is still up. I think that was the hardest thing to get used to. You're like, okay, it's probably like 8 o'clock, right? Oh my God, it's 10 o'clock or 10:30. Yeah, that was a bit of a shock. First year we were here because we moved up here in October. And so it was already at the tail end of, right before time switched, back to regular, daylight time. And so we were here for a few months before we all of a sudden had, did the time change again. We're used to California, which still has, long days, but nothing like here. He did fly the Core Fighter in the original anime series. Well, yeah. No. My question was, should I put the backpack on? That's what I'm asking. It's the jet. Oh no, that was the answer to a previous question. Yeah. So I guess let me throw it out there again to the room. This backpack that's on Sailor, should I put one on Amuro? If the answer is yes, then I will cut that off the runner and I will install that, as well as the holster when I get that done. At least their suits are relatively smooth. There's not a ton of details, but there's enough. So she's supposed to be holding the helmet like this. Oh, okay. So you basically just have to glue it to her hand. Yep, all right. It just glued to her hand, I guess. All right, so I got 2 more parts here to clean up. No, he's a pilot. Okay, so he won't have the little backpack. Is that what you're saying? I know I keep asking the same question over and over again, but I'm having trouble deciphering exactly what you're trying to tell me. So because he's a pilot, he wouldn't have one? Or is that part of the flight suit? Because she's wearing one, but she's wearing one. I just didn't understand why he wouldn't. But sounds like Jason needs to down there in Oregon anyway. They've got to be a little bit better at keeping their bulls in the ring. That was horrible. Just the other day, a bull jumped over the railing and got out and started running people down. Fortunately, he didn't kill anybody, but man, that was crazy to watch. All right, her arm is bent here, so I'm going to need this to get into that crook of her elbow. Actually, that's not going to work. It's just too tight a spot, so I'm going to have to use my blade. Just trying to take off a little bit of that flash. The mold line goes right down the center of her arm. Well, Shayla, I said Sayla, didn't I? Shayla, smelling piloted the Core Fighter, so many thought Amuro should have one also. Okay, that's what I thought. I just didn't want to. It doesn't show it in the instructions, so it doesn't show his back. It just has him, this image of him facing it. And it's kind of like, okay, unless it says something in this. Let me see if I can Google Translate that and see if it says something in that. Maybe it's mentioned, but please don't. No, it just says assemble the figure referring to the photo. Glue while adjusting in position relationship. Each part of the figure is different from related parts. Blah, blah, blah. So let's see if it says anything. Glue the head and left arm according. Oh, yeah. See, it's just saying the same thing. It doesn't even say anything about it. So what do they call that? Creative license, basically. So in other words, I do what I want. If the part's there, I'm going to use it. All right, so each one, that means I'll cut out both of these. And we'll put them on. A big void in the back of them. Yeah. This is by far probably the worst mold line out of all these parts is on these little backpacks. It's a pretty significant looking mold line. That's all good. Okay. Put that one over there. One more. Then I got to do her left leg, or right leg, excuse me. Clean that up, and then we can start gluing her together. I gotta figure out why I enjoy the larger scale stuff more. It's because I can pick up the little parts with my fingers. So it gives me like a real grade and forget it. Although I will say, because of the small parts, I will say I lost my first piece to the new wood floors, by the way. And it wasn't because it flew off and landed somewhere where I don't know where it went. Because I know exactly where it went. And the problem is, when you install wood flooring, there's a little bit of a gap between the floor and the baseboard, right? And then, of course, there's an expansion gap if you install your wood flooring, right? You should have an expansion gap between the wall and where the board ends. Well, this little piece off the Rex went flying and slid under my baseboard and then probably went right behind the wood board and is down now in between the wood and the wall. So I had to make a new one. I just scratch built one out of styrene. It was just one of those little tiny flat. There's some doors that open up on the Rex, and there's like little missiles or something inside. It was one of those. So I just cut one out. I used a punch tool, made some circles, had to make some circles on it, and then had to scribe a few little notches in it, did that. And I made a very passable piece that will work just fine in the end. All right, so I need this one again. I'm just going to do the back of her leg here. She's kind of walking, so this leg is bent. And there's no stands or anything that they're sitting on. So hopefully, let's see if Amuro even stands up. Yeah, he does. Let's see. I'll bring him over here where he can see him in the camera. There we go. Yeah, he stands up just fine. So that's good. We'll have to see if we can get her legs in the right position so she doesn't fall over without glue. Yeah, she's got a dang mold line that goes right down the center of her boot. Can't tell if I got that or not. There's a little bit of a raised detail on there, and I'm trying not to completely wipe that off either, but in order for me to get down enough to get that mold line off, take a little bit off. There we go. I guess that's good. All right, so let's glue some of this together, and then we'll get back to Amuro. Okay, so first, of course, I think the head and the arm, this arm that is tucked in under her hair, that's going to be the trickiest part. So we'll start there. So I've got to do that first, and then I got to get this arm on here in a hurry, basically. So before the head dries, I can get this tucked in up under her hairline here. And it fell off. As soon as I thought I had it, I let go, but I let go a little too soon. It's a little drop of glue here. Should do it. It's like I had the head in pretty much the right position. I just needed to get this. There we go. It's a little tricky, but at least they did the mold really, really well, because if you look at that, her hand just basically tucks in right underneath her hairline there. So I'm going to push that together a little bit more. And then I will just give a dab on her next to her face there to see secure that. That's going to be where it goes. It's kind of just falling into place. It doesn't really want to move like any further back, and I've got her. There we go. Her head is on there. It's kind of like as far as it'll go. I'm just trying to see if I can get it any tighter, but that's about it. That's where it's going to have to stay. Okay. So let's see. Next up is her back leg. Okay, so she's taking a step. I guess the best way to do this is to just, like I've been doing everything else, stick it on there and, allowing for a little bit of working time, just see if she stands up on her own, and then if I need to make a minor adjustment, I can do that. So it's going to be a tricky part, but we'll see if we can pull it off here real quick. Decent amount of glue on there, so I've got it'll soften up this so close. Success. I'm gonna just push it together. Her legs are pretty close together. She's kind of like almost pigeon-toed a little bit, but the back leg is more of a support leg. Yeah, I got it again. So I've just made a little bit of an adjustment, but I'm gonna bring it slightly forward. Just trying to make sure those there we go. It doesn't look like she's leaning. She's walking in a straight line, so she's pretty good there. Okay. So we'll go back to Amuro here. Let's put on the holster. And we'll put on his backpack as well. This is actually a little, it's almost like a pattern that would fit where this goes. Like 4 little attachment points on his back. This thing does not sit there very easily. There we go. All right, so there's the backpack. All right, so let that dry for a second, and then we'll get that holster. And I think I'm going to cut off. Put him there. I'm going to cut that other one off that for her. Clean this up real quick. Crap! I just dropped the holster. Where'd it go? There it is. I didn't hear it hit the ground, so I knew it was on me. There we go. So the kids have stopped screaming outside. That's good. All right. I think that's dried enough. Let me see if I can get this holster on here. This has to sit right up under his arm. I probably should have put this on first. It would have been a lot easier. I think I'm going to have to just install this with tweezers. Oops, knocked her over, but she's all right. So 1 second here while I get this glued in place. I'm just trying to reposition this, getting this holster in the right spot. That looks pretty good. Just going to give it a little bit more little touch right behind it just to. All right. Well, aside from the helmet, I think Amuro is done. So there's the holster in place. Back on. It's good to go. So we're going to set you over here. And then we'll finish getting her done. So I got a holster to put on her as well as a straight arm. So I think I'm going to learn my lesson here and do the holster first. Just because without the arm there, it's a lot easier to put this on. Just like that. Let that soften up. All right. Then we can put her right arm on over that. She's kind of like got her arm kind of dangling behind her where she's holding her helmet, so she still stands up, which is a good sign. Not very easily, but she stands up. So now you can see the position of her arm there is kind of like trailing behind her, and that's where she'll be holding on to. You just basically have to put the helmet in her hand like this. You know, once that glue, I can't do it now because her arm is still drying. It's a little much. There we go. Shit, I bumped it. There we go. Okay. You just got to leave it alone. All right, last but not least is her backpack. I'm not going to say backpack or jetpack, whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to put the helmet on just like I did with Amuro because that'll have to be done last. Once I paint the helmets and then put the visors in. Last touch. Okay. Looks pretty good. I think I like the position of her. I just knocked off the backpack. Damn it. I was trying to adjust her leg a little bit. You can get that on while it's still soft. was trying to move her leg down just to get a little bit closer together. Not so far back, you know, as far as like a stride. Trying to move this forward a little bit, and I ended up knocking that off, but I got it back on there, so I think we're good. All right, that's right in the center of her back. That's good. But I think what I'm going to have to do is just let her kind of sit here and dry kind of on her face like this, just to not touch anything and let it settle down. I'll get this other helmet out of the way. Meantime, we're getting close to end of the session. Let's see one last time if she stands up on her own. Yes, success. Move her up here so at least the camera here can see. There we go. So she's standing up on her own with all the accoutrements on except for the helmet. The helmet will be a little bit more weight on that side. Hopefully it doesn't make her topple over, but I'm just going to lay her down like this so she can dry. Move it back to down look. These are all the colors that I've got for the Rex. Got them picked out. These are going to be some, I got to do some mixing on for some details on the kit. A couple of these, like these were supposed to be mixed together to make the green, but I think I may end up just using this as it's by itself. That's a Mystic color number 60. Pretty nice color. But anyway, that will be started later when I get done with all the primer and everything. And then my plan is to, because I'm going to use that kind of that 3D kind of digital camo look on the Rex. So what I might do is paint the darker green color first and then mask off those areas that I want to stay green, and then do the predominantly gray color over that. So I can still use all that darker color as a pre-shade. But anyway, let's go back up here. We missed, see a few people tonight. I don't think we got, George was not in, didn't see him. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Julius. Thanks, Jason. Dirk Diggler. All you guys, you're the best. Let's see. Yeah, that's pretty much it for that was chiming in tonight. Julius was the first one in before we even started. He was asking about or saying, made a comment really early. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call this one an evening. Thanks again for coming out and hanging out with me tonight. I appreciate each and every one of you, as always. Like and subscribe if you're not one of the guys that checks in here all the time. If you like what you see, hit that bell. That'll let you know when I'm going to be on, or actually when I get on live every Wednesdays, or mostly every Wednesday. Sometimes I don't make it on, but that's rare. Like I said, most of the time we're pretty regularly on Wednesdays, 6 p.m. Pacific. So thanks again, everyone. We'll talk to you soon. Be good humans, and like George says, brighten the world one person at a time if you have to. So with that, we're going to send everybody off. Thanks again. In case I miss a comment here. Later, fellas. See you later, Nick. We'll see everybody next week. Talk to you soon. And if I'm still in paint on the Rex, then we'll continue building the Core Fighter here. So this will be on the wall as the next project up. So then when the Rex is done, we'll move on over to painting the Core Fighter. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thanks again. Talk to you soon.